Yeah, so, which is fine. I'm gonna start, you guys probably know Excel pretty well, so I don't have to go into too much detail about what I'm doing with that. But, I'm just gonna put them, when I import it into CAD, expect to see, point, oh, I should have, point number, northing, easting elevation, right? So, I'm just gonna assign in point numbers all the way down.
Sorry, northing, easting,
Um,
and
point-
elevation?
Yeah.
Yeah, point-
YX.
Y
P
This
N
is-
E Z
X.
D.
Y,
No, YXZ.
And this is just the way he has his settings set up.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see.
it's. Yeah.
It's weird. What's the second color?
So
The
it's
2012.
point number.
No, the 2012, what is that?
This one?
Yeah.
These are Eastings,
Oh.
or I don't know if that's X or Y for you guys.
X.
Is X.
Yeah, it's the 2000s, right? 1000s, 2000s,
X is always east.
and then these are the elevations assigned to
Yeah.
each one.
Okay.
And then
That's
what
correct.
I'm gonna do before I even import it is I'm gonna put something here too, which is, so, a lot of times you guys like to see it in, or whoever you're making the heat map for likes to see it in feet and inches, right? So, I have this, conversion, mess here.
He said, why I don't like him there.
That's going in, so it's in spot M4. Four, paste. Let's see where okay, what's it accessing? I4? Oh wow, we gotta go a long ways. One of these two, here it is, right here. Okay, we don't need that. We don't need that, or any of these.
The hell was all that?
Well, I'm trying to find out which one it was, which cell it's accessing. So it's,
Okay.
all of this is accessing this cell in here.
Copy.
We'll move it over one more. There we go. Get rid of the formatting. Okay. So 246.187 is 2 1/4. That makes sense. So I should be able to just click it and drag it up like that.
You
That
ever
makes-
just click on it, it'll,
Yeah.
you click the bottom corner, just double click that little box right there.
Sweet. I'm learning this stuff now. I like it.
That's one thing I hate about like cloud, like software, like you always get these little tips and tricks. Like
No, that's all, I love it. I love it.
I do too, but like sometimes it's a,
So another way, another thing we can do, if you want, I'll just show you real quick here. This is one I like to do too.
I like that as well.
Go to the top. Stop. Okay, just do your own thing.
So you create a heat map from Excel?
I am editing the file we're gonna import
Oh,
into.
okay.
Like this is just.
So-
I see it.
Stop me if I'm wrong, Josh, but I'm
Mhm.
gonna talk to this.
Mhm.
So here's obviously our elevation, right? This is now the code. So this for
Yeah.
our formatting for importing into AutoCAD is point number, northing, easting, elevation, description,
Yeah.
right? So if you take, what he's gonna do is he's gonna take this description and he's going to change it so it's now telling you, if say 246 is the floor height, the
Yeah.
correct height for the floor, you see he subtracted 246, now everything's going to say whether it's, positive or low, and it gives the high and low, so that
Yeah.
people who aren't necessarily used to looking at just a whole bunch of numbers or a heat map can now look at whatever the description is.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't
Compared to
necessarily
the
need the
best
elevation
one,
on it, it just needs to tell them whether it's high or
Yeah.
low. It's basically a little cheat, for.
Yeah.
What am I doing wrong? Autofill options. Why is it not doing it then?
And this, I can't do this in Cyclone.
Okay.
Like I can't import
Yeah.
points with a description on it.
Okay.
So when you export it out to, whoever it is that requested it, whether it's a field engineer or superintendent, because those are the two people that usually are requesting this information, they want it so that they can understand it quickly and not have to worry about shit.
I like this better because it just does the math for you, right?
Freaking lovely.
Especially if your slab is supposed to be like an odd number of inches. You know, if you have a slab that's at 246 2-inch, like this just does the math. So this just tells you if it's high or low to the plan.
Okay.
So there's two options, right? You can show them the actual elevation, you can show them the deviation from elevation.
So here's one thing that concerns me about this specifically is that the design L is 246.
I think, yeah.
Do we not get that?
That's what it shows on the elevation view. Just lists them all out.
My only concern is that they think it's 2.5 inches from itself. You know what I mean? Because you could essentially have a plane
So,
up there.
so
right?
let me finish
You got an
saying.
average height or like a plane,
Yeah.
like a deviation. But that's almost like a flatness report, not necessarily levelness. There's a heat, You following?
Yeah.
Let's,
So your formula, that's what you created?
yeah.
Almost too easy.
Yeah.
Which I'll send it to you guys, you can have it, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was doing.
He knows that, but he didn't know you could double click that little box. You know what I'm saying?
So our highest point, there's a couple at 6 inches, which those are probably noise, right?
Yeah, I'd get rid of those.
Or no, those are very low.
Under
244, those are extremely
Oh, that's
low.
probably on those stairs. But like I said, I have you clean up the ones that are down the
Oh,
stairs.
I know. I made a mistake. This, because it's going up and referencing this. How do I sort it without moving that? Anyway, here, let's ignore.
Just don't select the whole page.
Well, yeah,
Go, yeah. And if you select it, you just select here, along there, it'll
then.
select that.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Let's go like this.
Chocolate.
That's for.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, those two are garbage. So our lowest point is still 3/4 inch high. So yeah, that tells me the whole slab is up higher than we thought. So maybe the slab plan, maybe the floor height is higher than it's supposed to be, or our elevations were off.
I mean, our elevations matched what they said they were, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can, yeah.
You know, the other thing we can do is, I mean, we're really not worried about the elevation.
Yeah,
Maybe 100.
I could go back to having it just show the elevation too.
No, I mean, I just am not sure if we should take like an average height of the floor.
Yeah.
It's also statistics.
The problem is that we don't, the elevation that we have there
Yeah.
could be wrong.
So our
Yeah.
highest is, if you discard that last one, 4 inches high, we've got a bunch of 2 3/4. So take the average, it's about 1.5 inches or 1 5/8 inches.
You can just average out the whole,
But you need a
Inch and
like
3/4.
eliminate because it's outlier, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So what's the source code? You need to set up your before.
If you double click average, it'll-
I don't want to include that last one or two. Whoa,
Shouldn't
slow
matter.
down.
Yeah, how can it slow down? It's weird.
Let's go with that.
I
You
mean,
nailed it.
the same number will be easier.
What's that?
But I mean, like when you didn't set, like select all the cell you want, you can just change the cell number in the.
Oh, I know, but I didn't know what the
Yeah.
last one was. I guess I
Yeah.
could have gone down to it. Why did it resort them? I don't know.
So you're going to dispose those 2 points, I guess.
Yeah, and confused why it like oh no, it didn't unsort them. There's
Yeah, they didn't change.
yeah. Yeah, we can get rid of these two. They're way too low. And then I think we should get rid of this one too. Maybe even that one also.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, it's a lot.
So is there like any standard to decide? No, just feel.
It's just if you see an
There's-
outlier, since we have 2
Yeah.
foot spacing and you see one outlier, it's highly unlikely that the slab in 2 feet is going up,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
even an inch. I mean, it's possible, but
Okay, so basically the difference is beyond 0.1 inch? 1 inch?
I think an inch. It depends on your spacing. If I took shots every 20
Yeah,
foot
yeah.
and I saw one that was an inch higher, I'd hesitate to delete that because like you could easily have an inch higher in 20 feet. But since our
Yeah.
spacing is 2 foot spacing,
Okay.
we have one, you know, like the highest one is here and then the very last point is 1 inch higher. I'm gonna get rid of that 1 inch.
Yeah.
Like an inch over 2 feet, like,
It's 3, but.
I'm sorry, 3, I keep saying 2 feet, it's 3 feet, okay.
Maybe it's about the
And again, this is like the part that like, how do you teach this? You have to make 8,000 freaking heat maps before you start really knowing, and like,
Knowing what to.
I went through and kind of did
Yeah.
just a rough kind of clean out some of the stuff, you know, to make sure there was no outliers that were, you know,
Yeah.
just kind of out a little bit.
I like to save copies as I go, so I call that formulas. This one I'm gonna call values and do it as a CSV again. And I'm gonna go and take all these ones and go copy, and I'm gonna go paste values, and then I can get rid of all this crap, because this crap will just confuse it when I go to import it. It can't be in there. So it just needs to be the 3 columns, no headers. It doesn't really matter that the points are out of order, like it shouldn't hurt it. Save, yeah, I wanna keep that format. I don't know why Excel does this with CSVs, but I just saved it. Okay, now for the fun part. That's like a little bit of work we gotta do. Okay, so Carlson uses, we've got our text file. It also uses our CSV, they're essentially the same thing. It uses a coordinate file, and it does that because it can store more data in the coordinate file. So you have to tell it what coordinate file you're working out of, and that's under, a lot of stuff is under this points menu. So I'm going to tell it we're going to have a new coordinate file called level 16 heat map. And all that did is create a new file. The file is empty, but it's set to that file, and it even says it right up here in the title. We're on level 16 heat map. This CRD is coordinate file. So now we've set our coordinate file. We're going to import the text file, which is just right there. And this is where you would change the order of stuff, right? I have it set to point number, Y, X, Z, and D. D is what we were just messing with, the description. Which essentially is just a text box. It's not data. It's just you can write anything in there you want. You can say Bill's house or something. And then I want to go with, I like to browse. What did I just save? I guess I saved it as this. Yeah, that's the right timestamp. Usually I call it comments. I wasn't thinking. So it gives a little preview here. When I hit OK, it's going to either If I turn it off, it won't draw them. I'll turn it off for now. We'll do it separate steps. So it's just bringing it into that coordinate file, and then it lets you know that it successfully read them. And if you have duplicate points or the point names don't work or there's any problems, it'll tell you here. It'll say, I had an issue with this or that. Okay, so it now has them in that coordinate file. Now we can draw them if we want. There's all kinds of different options here to draw. I'm going to turn on all these different things. And this might take it a second. See what happens. Boom. So it drew them all, and I don't like it because they're too big. So we're going to redo that. Make them a little smaller. Let's go down to like. You know what? The text size was set high. Let's see what that looks like. That looks better. We'll just zoom in on one. Okay, so these are a block, but you can go into your properties, the point. I'll just look at all the layers here. These ones right here that end with the start with PNT. You've got your description, your elevation, your number, and this is the block layer. So this is all of it. So this one will always be on if you want to show anything. But most people don't care what number they are because this is what I numbered them in Excel. The elevation is the decimal elevation. So the description is kind of what we want, right? So I'm just going to leave that on. And that leaves you with that. So now you just have a little point. This is where the shot was, and this is what it is. Well, that's good for now. So these ones out here were from my last coordinate file, which was the control. And it doesn't automatically erase those. So I'm just going to go and erase those. I'm going to go like this. Erase all. Delete from coordinate file, no. Delete point symbols, yes. And so it gets rid of all of them. So I have to draw them all again. Turns the layers back on for me. It's helpful. Oh. You can do that step before or after you do the heat map part. But that's
Yes, sir.
I like to do it before because
What's going on, bud?
it makes
Hang
you
in there,
make
man.
sure that your stuff is falling inside. You know, if you did something wrong with
That's
the
all right.
scan or with the transfer or your CAD drawings wrong, you'll do this and these points could fall way out here somewhere. So it's good
It's
to.
okay.
I like to draw them just so I can see. This looks really reasonable, right? 'Cause it all
Josh,
looks
could you
good.
repeat that again? You just
Good,
got
man. Everything's going great.
falling off the-
We're working on training right now. Yeah,
Let's go
everybody
back one
needs to get
step,
their hands
actually.
on it
I
and
should have
kinda
started.
see it. I don't know if it'll be
I
enough
should have
to,
started with something else. We're gonna back up a whole
repeat
step.
it, but
Sorry,
it's
Josh.
a good start.
Prior
Okay, where
to
everybody starts.
doing any of this
So,
work,
that's
you've
happening.
got to set up your
Finish.
control, right?
Yeah.
Which I sent this file to you guys. So the second thing I did, we ran those elevations up the building
Yeah.
to set our benchmarks. The next thing I did after that is we saw the first day, we saw these lines snap down, right? And I saw the hole that they had drilled. So I knew those were control lines, and those were our best bet for having the control stack up the building. So it's a whole nother procedure, but I set up the instrument and figured out what those offsets are. And then I created, like we were saying earlier, we start down here with our 2000, 1000.
Yeah.
So once I created that, I used this grid spacing, right? And figured out what the northings and the eastings are for all these grids, figured out what the northings, eastings are for these controls, right? And then I could set the instrument up on that grid intersect because I know what the northing and the easting for that point is. So that when I'm gathering the data for those black and white stickers, I know exactly, the instrument knows exactly where it's sitting, which way it's looking. So when I shoot those black and white stickers, it's on building control. And then the process Gabe showed you with translating and rotating the scanning brought it all in, so it's all matching. when I created this CAD file, I brought in either structural, architectural CAD drawing. I brought it in, scaled it, and moved all their line work and everything down to that starting point.
Okay.
Right, so it's all the same, everything should match. So
Yeah.
if at any step in that whole procedure, somebody messed up, the guy in the field shooting with the instrument, the person moving the CAD drawing, the guy doing the point cloud, there's a million ways you can screw that up, and you'll know it. You know everything went right when it looks like this, right? Because none of our points are falling in the elevator, none of them are falling in the core wall, they're all inside the slab, like, that actually couldn't have come out better.
I actually like, it's so cool to like just now understand like what you're doing the whole time.
Yeah, yeah. But I've had it many times where like all these points, like they'll fall way over here or way over here, or there'll be a mirror image, or they'll be shifted. You know, it's like, oh crap, what did we mess up? Like which step along the way got screwed up? And if you're lucky, you can figure it out behind the computer. But sometimes you have to go back out in the field and figure out.
And redo it, or,
If you can figure out what went wrong, sometimes you can take a set of data and like spin it or, rotate it. It depends on what got messed up. And the more, unfortunately, the more people involved, the harder it is to figure out. Like if I have one of my crew guys go out there and do the field work with the total station, I've got to get him on the phone and say, look, this is what I'm seeing. Can you help me figure out what you might have done that made this happen? Like, were you set up on the right points? Were you mixed up which way north was? Or I say to Gabe, hey Gabe, the file you sent me doesn't make sense. Like you've got points falling way outside. I could just look at his coordinate file that he sent me, and if I see that these are like 2,000 numbers, I can say, oh,
Yeah, I see
that's
that.
not right, or
Yeah.
3,000, 4,000. It's like,
it
no,
should be in the same kind
it
of.
should be
range.
1,000s and 2,000s,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong.
Yeah, but obviously.
Everything went right here. So I forgot what the question was, but hopefully that answered it.
Yeah. I just didn't see like the process of you like drawing, but how do you get that drawing and then put it into that 2,000, 1,000 plot?
I can go through that real quick if you want. Yeah,
That was the thing that I was kind of interested about as well.
sure. What I'll do is we'll actually go,
You use the CAD file, the structural CAD file, right?
yeah, so this is the zip file,
Yeah.
and this is the, you know what? I'm just gonna delete it and I'll
So
re-export
technically
it.
you
'cause
can
I'm-
do this in Civil 3D.
You can do this in Civil 3D, because Civil 3D is CAD, so it's got all the basic commands
Yeah.
still, and then it's, Civil 3D is organized different than,
Yeah.
so it's got different commands and different menus, and I just don't know it. But
Because our previous,
it should be able to do all the
yeah,
same
our previous
things though.
guy who we subbed out, he used Civil 3D as well. But I wasn't like too familiar, like I don't know much about CAD.
Yeah.
I know I use Civil 3D, so.
So, these are the structural drawings from, I guess, the structural guy, that you sent. And I'm just gonna open it without, it's unedited, right? It's like, as it came from the structural engineer, I think. So, first of all, when I open it up, it's in, we're viewing it in the layout tab, so I go in the model tab first. And I like to look and see if all the layers are on, because if there's extra stuff in there, I want to know about it. And I like to do the zoom extents real quick to make sure there's not multiple pictures, because sometimes they'll have a copy here and a copy here. You can't see them if you're zoomed into here.
Yeah.
So this is everything, all the layers are on, everything's current.
Well, you need to get rid of the hatching and then.
Yeah, and so see down at the bottom how it's got inches?
Yeah.
That's a drawing format, and the quickest, easiest way for me to do it is to just copy everything and put it into my own template. But, and I can send you my template too if you want, but you can change things one at a time to fix that. It might take a little bit of me remembering how. But typically what I do is I go like this, copy. And that's different than typing in copy. Because this, if you type in copy, that's telling it within CAD. I actually copied it to the computer's clipboard by using the copy command. Jobs, new job template. That's the current one. So this is my template where all the settings are what I'm familiar with. Model, and then I'll just go paste. It'll tell them, ask me where. It doesn't really matter where for now. So there we go, it's in my template. Now, see, I've got coordinates down here that make sense. And here's where it gets really screwy. Carlson needs to work in decimal feet. CAD does not have a set, I cannot believe it and I don't understand, but AutoCAD does not have a setting for decimal feet. AutoCAD is telling me these coordinates in decimal inches. AutoCAD is, which means everything's off by a factor of 12 right now. So if I type in distance and I go from this grid to this grid, it says 424, which is probably the inch equivalent of 35 foot 4 inches, right? If I go dimension from here to here, oh, sorry, dim linear. Oh. Some layers are on. Turn on all layers. Layer name, period display. What's that? Yeah, that's what I'm trying. Oh, is it hidden? Is that what's wrong? Where is that?
It's fine right now.
Let's try it again, because I don't
Yeah.
understand why it's not showing me a dimension that I just snapped. There it is. I don't know why I was doing that. Okay, so it's saying those are decimal inches. So the point is, it's like using two different systems, right? Because when I drew all the points in, it has to be in this number right here. So what I do is once you import something, you just have to scale it. And there's a bunch of, you guys,
You can use the R to.
yeah,
use the
you guys
reference.
probably know there's a bunch of different methods, you can go like that. A lot of times I'll just go 1/12 and then check it. 35 point. And there it is, nice and tiny. So it screwed up their dimensioning, but I don't really care. I can take the time to go and change all that, but I usually just go. But now it's saying 35.33, which is, that's the correct decimal feet dimension. So if I switch it to architectural, I just got to change it by a factor of 12. So it's in the right scale for Carlson to be able to do all this stuff that it's doing now. So now I know that I want this to be 1,000, 2,000, and right now it's at some weird number because I didn't move it. So in the line command, I could start a line wherever, and then I could type in 2,000, 1,000, and whatever elevation I want, and it drew it to there.
And then you just move it to that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Move it to there.
And then once you import that CPS file, then label the coordinates, and then it will just set itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can, oh, something went wrong with that. I think I put it at the wrong side of the line.
Maybe the origin. You didn't say that.
No, I bet this is the right, no, that's, okay, that's okay. We're gonna do that all again.
So in the software that Gabriel used, when he did the 2,000, 1,000, that's essentially what it means to make sure that aligns with the 2,000, 1,000.
Oh, delta, oh, I see.
I kind of wish I saw this step before we did the surveying on it. Like, I don't know, because when we were doing the surveying, I was like so clueless. But like, just watching this is like,
There we go, okay. Now our intersects at 2,000, 1,000.
Hank asked the question earlier.
Oh, yeah, so the software that Gabriel used
Yeah, yeah.
earlier, and then he changed to 2,000, 1,000, that's essentially, he's moving in that software. So the cyclone is different. Technically, in the cyclone, he just export out the LGS.
Yeah.
And then he brought in that LGS file into the 3D LR. And then in 3D LR, he also moved it to 2,000 and 1,000.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the reason why it aligns with yours.
That and Gabe might be better suited to answer this. That she's asking, you went from Cyclone to LDR or LDR to Cyclone using 2,000, 1,000. But I don't think that's the reason that it's aligning with the AutoCAD drawing
No, you moved the AutoCAD drawing to,
2,000, but also the scans themselves were aligned to the black and white targets,
yeah.
which
we had to-
are on the 2,000, 1,000.
our control is based on this 2,000, 1,000 coordinate system.
So in here, let me go through something real quick, which might answer your question. So in the field, this is the drawing we're working on. It was just the architects, and I imported it. I've now scaled it. I've moved it. If I go in, let me set a coordinate file to. To the why isn't it letting me do a TXT? Oh, right. New coordinate file. Okay, I'll call it control. I'm going to import the control points that I created with the total station.
The other part he's not telling you is that when he first sets up, there is, that total station is not necessarily tied to anything. He's just measuring things in the room.
I kind of told him there's a whole process to doing that, which is probably another 2 hours.
We probably shouldn't delve too far into it
2 hour
because
training, yeah.
that is, out of all of this, that's the hardest part.
Mhm.
This, you just basically learn the steps in software.
Yeah.
You kind of look for what you're looking for, but
So I'm just trying to illustrate a little bit about how that happens, because I'm drawing the points that came from the total station, and these are the points that I gave Gabriel for the software, right?
Right.
So, for instance, where are we at here? Here's the grid intersects, which I found in the field and set up on. There's one there, one here. And I'll be honest, so something doesn't look right. Like I was saying, sometimes things, you look at it and like, something's not lining up right, because these should not be here. They should be over here. Interesting. Did I get my scale wrong maybe? Let's go to this intersection. So it's saying 2131 and 11. Oh, that looks right. And you're right. That, and here's the scan targets, right? For each floor.
Mhm.
So, because the instrument's at the right coordinates, and I shoot the scan target, so they're now at the right coordinates. That's why all the stuff once Gabe took the scans and aligned them to the black and white targets, they're just automatically just are on the right coordinates. I don't know what went wrong with this drawing. I know it was right in here.
Definitely looks right there.
Yeah, that's what we were looking at. It's like, yeah, everything worked out perfect because it's like, that looks really good.
And honestly, the stuff inside that core should probably go away.
Yeah, I don't think we'll use these points.
Okay.
Yeah. We're actually not too far from being done with like the basics of the heat map. So I could finish that and then we
Yeah,
could
for
double
sure.
back if you guys
Yeah,
want.
for sure.
I just got a phone yesterday, and he had like a really heavy ask for you guys. He wants you to get at like 4 floors of this done by next week.
What?
He wants us to have an additional 4 floors of it done as well. Which I I told him we can maybe assign a day or 2 next week to it, depending on what workload is in Seattle. But,
Like heat map or just registration?
yeah.
Heat map?
Just, yeah, okay.
Oh,
everything.
Just everything?
You know what though, honestly,
I thought it's
if you guys,
enough.
Yeah, I think
I mean, you guys-
fabric.
listen, it's a heavy ask.
Oh.
Do get what you can, right? I told him straight up, like, there's a lot. If you guys can get through registrations though.
We
even
can
if-
do the registration, but I don't think we're able to do this in a fast, timely manner.
There's no way you're gonna match.
Yeah, we don't have
well,
the
either one of
license,
us,
we don't have
because
the
we don't have the
experience.
experience.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
told him,
So let's do this. So we know we don't want these ones in the core. So if we go
Okay.
points, erase points, screen, we're gonna pick them on the screen, and then I can go turn off my snap.
Sometimes it's not very realistic with this giving tasks.
that's okay. The thing about, in the position,
You know it well.
it's just something that,
I'm gonna tell yes this time.
okay. I'm not, it could be done. It could be done. But obviously you guys, one, you need the 3DR software, which I'm gonna try and get you guys 10 licenses. I want you to see your own 10 licenses. And then, I would say my personal opinion is maybe different than his, but if you can get through the registration process,
We can do the
You know what I mean?
registration, just not this. Sorry, one question.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can see why you meant you can't see the point because you did the calculation in Excel and then this is just, you're just applying to it, right? Is that what it is?
all you're seeing is the eye level. There's
Yeah,
no
because
elevation.
Yeah, yeah.
you're removing your point because you can see where the point is, but for him, he can't see where the point is placed in the scan data. Because you guys did the calculation differences in Excel and then import that into here.
Yeah, but that's only for this description.
Oh.
That's the only thing you need to see here is this description.
Yeah,
You know,
these are, yeah.
So we basically took the average of the floor.
Mm.
So instead of, trying to hold like the design elevation, we took the average of what the actual floor is.
Yeah.
Like, if you consider, it's almost like creating a plane, it's not exact. But if you were to create a plane out of all of those points and then compare it to a plane, but because we just did it mathematically, it's not necessarily a plane, right?
Yeah.
It's just the average. And this is essentially, again, I'm speaking approximately, but would be like the deviation, standard deviation from a plane, right? Following? But we're cheating a little bit because we're just surveying.
I
we're
feel
not-
like the turn is not technically right, but anyway.
Right,
Right.
It's less than.
Right, this
standard
shouldn't say high, it should say higher than average,
Yeah.
right? Because it's not a plan elevation, and we could edit these to say that, but,
Mm,
Um,
okay.
yeah.
Well, and that's because we don't know what the actual, we don't
Yeah, we
know
don't
the
know
real
what the plan
true
is.
elevation.
Yeah.
We only know what the surveyor before us said was.
And honestly, like, a lot of times I'll just leave it like this, and then I'll put a big giant note, right over here that says, deviations shown are from average slab height, plan height unknown, or something like that. And so, and then I'll explain it in the email when I send it, and I'll say, hey.
Sounds good.
So right here, we knew this was a stepped area, right? It's stepped down and this reflects it, right? We're high here, we're low here, so it looks like it was about an inch something step on this side, maybe a little more over here, I don't know. We're go from low, low, really close, a little lower. So it's about an inch step. But actually, you know what, we can leave it because a lot of these lows aren't even as low. These might be our lowest points. Let's just leave them for now and see what happens. That'll be cool. Okay.
But you know, like that elevator is going to receive new flooring, and
Yeah.
you can view that flooring height.
So we can do a couple things here. We can leave it, we can remove these points completely. We could leave these points in the coordinate file, but put them in a different group and then specify that when we do our surface. I'm gonna start by just doing the surface and I'm just gonna do nothing. But there's a lot of options for how to deal with that.
So you're saying just have like one separate for that?
Right, you can put your points in groups,
Yeah,
and you
got
can
it.
sort them in all sorts of different ways, or specify individually, there's all kinds of ways. And then you treat the groups differently. This is why Carlson does a CRD file instead of just accessing the text file. Like the text file is just like, here's your points, like really simple. The CRD can do all kinds of things like sort them into groups and things like that. Okay, so the points menu is one you're gonna use a lot, primarily, and then the other one you're gonna use all the time is the surface menu. And the surface menu, it creates a tin surface. So it's not, what is the surface that you guys use all the time? What is it called, Gabe?
Tin? I'm sorry.
NURBS. Well, anyway, the type of surface is called as a tin file, which is essentially just making triangles out of everything.
Triangulated irregular network?
I think it's the same thing.
That's tin.
Yeah.
But the other one is
Triangulated network? So we-
triangulated irregular network.
Here, let's keep
Come on,
going.
you
I'll
guys.
show you. Okay, all these things on this top menu are all one. This very top one does almost all of these things here at once. So it's like a big long procedure when you click this top one. So each tab is one of the things it's going to do, and every tab has a whole bunch of settings in it. So like, there's a lot of. I actually made a video about how to do this. Like it's like a half hour long of going through a basic heat map. But, the nice thing about Carlson too is once you do this, you can open up a whole different file, a whole different instance of CAD running, and it'll carry your settings over. Or if you open up the same file, it'll carry them from the last time you had that file open. So if you redo the command, all your settings are like they were the last time you did the command, which is really nice. You don't have to go through every setting. You can just change one thing and know that everything else is the same. Okay, so starting at the top, I'm going to tell it to draw triangulation lines. I'm going to call it level 16. Level 16 tin lines. I don't want faces. I don't want slope arrows. I do want a triangulation file, and that's because later on I might use it for the volume. I'm just going to call it level 16 tin file. And it's fine, it's in the CAD folder that we're working out of. We'll go ahead and use inclusion, exclusion. We don't, this is, if we'd already done this whole thing once, we could tell it to erase what we've done before. If you don't have it erase what you've done before, you'll get two different versions. And it's a lot of hashing and line work and everything. So it's a good idea to have it erase it. And then I'm not going to worry about any of these settings here, or any of these. Actually, I'm not going to worry about any of that right now. Okay, contours. We do want it to draw contours. Again, we're going to put it on. These are all CAD layers, right? So I want it to create a new layer called level 16 contours. Contour interval. So do we want 1/8 inch contours? Do we want 1/4 inch? I think because we had like a 3 inch deviation from one side to the other, I think we ought to do 1/4 inch. I know that's- yeah, I like to 2/96. No, 2/96 divided. I like to carry a lot of decimals just because it's gonna do it 16 or 32 times or something, so I like it, that'll make it more precise. So it's gonna contour an interval. All these are kind of like fine tuning details. The one that's really important that you need to remember is this one right here, hatch zones. If you don't do this, you don't get a color heat map. You just get contour lines. Labels, I don't do them. You might do them someday, but like, it shows what the elevation is, I guess. And then selection is asking you, what do you want me to use to create the heat map? And really all we want to use is the CRD file, which is the points we gathered, or we got from the scan. Okay, so I'm gonna hit OK, we'll see how it turns out. So it's saying, you gotta pay attention right here, it's saying, it wants to know what's your inclusion area. My inclusion area is this 3D polyline that I already created, which is the plan slab edge. I just followed the structural plan slab edge. Once I've clicked all the ones I want, I hit enter. Now it says, what do you want to exclude? You could like exclude this area in here. I never had any luck with it. It doesn't seem, I don't know what's wrong with the program, it doesn't work. I never use exclusion zones. So I just hit enter for none. You guys can try it if you want. Okay, so it's saying, I know you want me to process a coordinate file. What coordinate file? It doesn't automatically just use the coordinate file that you're in. You can select any coordinate file. So level 16 heat map, that's the one we want. And this is, okay, within that coordinate file, what do you want to use? This is where I was telling you could have a group of points. You could do that. You could tell it which points, like you could type it in here. You could do by description. I'm just gonna say, we just want all. We're just gonna use every single point in that coordinate file, do all of them. And then I'll get back to this in just a sec. You can see it created the contour lines. The pink are the tin lines, so all the triangles it created. So it did all that, but it's still asking me more questions. So it's saying, what this is saying is, since I clicked that one box, I said that box is important, it's saying, how do you want to colorize this thing? So that's what this whole thing is about, is how are we going to color it? Up top, it tells you the range of values, the highest to the lowest, which is really helpful. These elevations that are here are still here from the last time I did a heat map, so they're just all kinds of wrong.
But those color changes are based on the quarter deviation that you inputted?
Well, they're based on the last time I did the heat map.
Oh, okay.
Yes, these are all settings from the last heat map I did in January 11th. So we can go through and we can type in what we want, right? Let's start at 246.083, right? And then you pick a color and you don't mess with the scale. You tell it which zone this is the layer that it's going to be on. You do want these on different layers. Don't try to put them all on the same layer. It'll just confuse CAD. It'll end up coloring them all the same because they're all on the same layer. There's an easier way than typing everything in and changing each color individually and all this stuff individually. It's this little auto button. Use this every time because it's a lifesaver. It's going to auto-populate all those fields for you. So we're going to start at 1. We're going to set colors. We're going to set values. The starting value, we can redo this, right? We can do it and look at it and see if we like it. So I usually just start it with the low point. The interval, you really want to match what you did for contours. Because if your contours are at 1/4 inch, but then you colorize your hatch zones at an 1/8, or you colorize them at a 1/2 inch, like you're asking it to create a hatch zone that doesn't follow the contour, like it's just going to make it look weird. So you want to put in that exact same number. I'm not even sure why they made it an option to make it different. Color increment, I almost always go 10. I don't know why I had that at 20. Starting color 170 is this nice dark blue. So our lowest points are going to be nice dark and blue. A -10 color increment just goes up in a nice solid, like, what do they call those? The base color pattern. You'll see it as a sec.
Alright.
Yeah. I don't do gradient colors or pattern. They might do cool stuff, I don't know. So I'm gonna put these all in a layer called level 16 zone. And I wish it counted for you. I wish it would automatically number them, but it doesn't. So I did level 16 zone and I put a space in there. I'll show you why in a sec. Okay, so when I hit OK, it's gonna auto-populate that whole box behind it. So it's stepping up the elevation a 1/4 inch each time, and the colors are gradually going from blue to green, and if it kept going, it would have been a nicer color. Let's try something real quick. So it's, like I said, we can just redo this, easy, just like that. What if we put it at like an 8? 01, 04. I should have showed you something real quick. So it stopped at green, right? It didn't go through yellow and red because at a 1/4 inch spacing, we got up to our highest point. So it didn't need to do anymore. It's like, that's where you're ending. And that's not ideal, because we'd have a map of blue and green with no yellow and red in it. Yellow, orange, red.
It auto extracted that number from the CRD, correct?
Yes. Yeah. These two up here come from the CRD. Okay, so everything else is gonna be the same. We're just gonna go at a 1/8 inch instead of a 1/4 inch. And when
Are
we
we
do
gonna
that-
have to change our contour elevation?
Yes.
Copy that,
I just wanna see, a lot of this is guessing and redoing.
just like what I do with the
So, yeah. So it's adding 10 to the color number, right? Like if I click to change the color, that's color 30. The next one down's 20. This one's 10. And then all of a sudden we're at color 0. And it's like, okay, well that's not gonna look good because your highest points are gonna be these colors. So a lot of times we'll just go like this. Yeah, let's just reassign these. Everything above a certain elevation is just gonna be the same color.
So is there like a standard? So you usually put
There
like
is
the
no
highest-
standard.
That's it, no?
Other than blue is low and red is high, that's pretty standard.
It's pretty standard.
But, you can have, if you shoot a slab and you've only got a 1/2 inch from the lowest to the highest, you're not gonna wanna do 1/4 inch contours, you're gonna wanna do like 1/16 or something. If you shoot a slab and you've got a 6-inch deviation, you can't do 1/8 inch contours. You're gonna have to do like inch contours or something. So there's no standard that I know of. It's gonna vary.
This is like,
And plus, if they're really concerned where it is to plan, and your whole slab is an inch low, then you're gonna hand over a heat map that's all blue.
Yeah.
Like everything's low. So it also depends on what they want. And God, it's a lot of fun explaining this to people who don't know what they want. Because you're like, how do you want
this is literally exactly why Sean's group and Survey's group, we do use the same tools. We do them different because we're experts at measuring shit. You guys are experts at drawing stuff, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap in what we do.
There is a lot of overlap. Like I said, we use the same tools. Like, we complement each other,
Yeah.
you know, but I mean, we don't compliment BDC because, you know, there's nothing nice to say about it, but
About us? About BDC?
about BDC.
Oh.
We don't compliment them verbally.
Well, how about
That's
that?
not
They do a
true.
lot of shit I can't do. How about that?
They do, they're awesome.
Okay, so like I said, I wish it numbered it automatically. It doesn't, but that's why I called it level 16 zone and left the space, because I just manually went through and added numbers,
Yeah.
because I don't want those all in the same layer. They have to be separate. So Gabe's right. We do have 1/8 inch color grading and 1/4 inch contours, so we're gonna fix that in a sec, but I'm gonna hit OK and see what it does. Sometimes this takes it a sec because it's just a lot. This is a reporter. I don't know what it does. It does some cool shit, I guess. I don't know. I really don't know. I've never used it. I think it gives you volumes and things like that. Okay, the last thing it's doing, you go, okay, cool, we're done. No, it's asking for a legend. Create a legend. I usually go off in white space here. It's asking you how big do you want it. Don't do 20. 20 is huge. 3 is usually a good number. Yeah, 3. You can see that's a 3. If you did a 20, it'd be about 10 times the size of our building. So there we go. There's our first round, our first try. We got a lot up here in the red. Again, I don't know what it did as far as the contours being at a 1/4 inch and the colors being at, like, I'm guessing it, I don't know. I always try to make them match because I don't know what it did. So I go, okay, that was interesting, but we do want to add more contours. So I'm just going to go and hit enter, tell it to do the same command again. I just told CAD to execute a Carlson command again. So here we go. Everything should be the same, right? Everything's the same. This is the one thing we want to change. 0.041. This is the decimal feet equivalent of a 1/8 inch. Labels, selection. One important thing is I'm going to tell it to erase what it did before. If I don't do that, I keep all these lines, all the hatching, all the contours, it'll all stay there and it'll draw it on top of it. And it'll have multiples of a lot of stuff and it gets really messy. So I definitely want to erase everything else. And it says, really, you want to overwrite that? I say, yeah, I want to overwrite it. I'm telling you to start over. Okay, it's asking me for the perimeter, inclusion area, exclusion area, just hit enter. Same CRD, all the points. Okay, it kept everything I had, so I'm actually going to leave that just like it was because I like this part. So I only changed one thing. That's why I'm just going through it real fast. All I changed was the intervals on the contours. So there we go. Now we got twice as many contours. Yeah, colors look good. So the inclusion area was this line, right? And what that did is, see how it could have drawn a triangle from here to here, but it didn't. It did. It did draw those triangles. It drew a triangle from here to here. However, it cut off the contours, and that's a touch screen? Oh, good. It cut off the contours, and it cut off the hatching, which is really nice because we don't want to draw contours and hatching outside of our slab. So that's what telling it that inclusion area does for us, is it trims. It's just a trim. In my experience, if you do an exclusion area, which would have been this interior of the core, it would have kind of done the same thing if it worked right, but it doesn't work right. See, so it pulled these contour lines, it pulled the tin lines all the way through. It made triangles of all this stuff. There's a little bit of theory here. Where's a good spot? So this looks good enough. So the way this whole thing works is, I'm trying to find a great spot. Oh, you know what? I know what a great spot is. Right here. Okay. Where we went from a 3/8 high to a 7/8 low, right? So it drew triangle lines to make these little triangle faces. And that can be a little surface itself, that one triangle, right? Mm-hmm. So it goes, well, I went from 3/8 high to 7/8 low. That's a inch and a quarter difference. So I'm going to split that 1.25 inches, or split this distance here into 1.25 inches is 10/8. I'm going to split it into 10 segments, and each spot I make a segment, that's where a contour line is going to connect to the next one over.
What do you mean? There's 1.25 inches?
This is where the slabs step down for the elevator, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it doesn't know the slab step. It just knows it has a spot here and a spot here.
Yeah.
It's not sloping down. It's a step down, but it's a good spot for me to show you what it's doing. So it's doing this for every single triangle it drew. It's figuring out how many of those segments, how many different, where the contour line goes inside each one. It's a lot of work. So it's a good thing the computer's doing it. So, okay, so the next thing I do is I go, okay, I gotta clean this up, right? Nobody wants to see all these little tin lines, so we just go here, find the tin lines, turn it off. That makes it look better already. This doesn't look right, we know inside the core, like, that's not what's happening. So, to do that, I create these white, I did this before the meeting. I create these white hatch areas, and I place the white hatches where I don't want to see the heat map. Hatch to back command. Okay. Oh, you know what? I know why. That's my white hatch there. Sorry guys, I'm gonna try to figure out what I normally do here.
What you're going to do is just draw
I'm just gonna
rectangle and just cover it.
Exactly, yep. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. And
What happens if
it's
just-
frustrating, it takes a lot of messing around with draw
Yeah.
order, and hatch to back command helps, the draw order helps, and sometimes I even have to take the elevation of the white hatch and bring it up above. But it's always a challenge because you're trying to get it to show the white hatch, the heat map, but on top of all of that are the points, right? The point numbers. Because sometimes your white hatch will end up covering up these point numbers. So it's a lot of fiddling around. And then on top of that, you'll go and export it to a PDF so you can hand it over to the team. And then the PDF export doesn't look like it did on the CAD screen. You're like, why do you hate me?
Why can't you just trim it? Like just trim it?
You could take, well, so like this,
Oh, but this
yeah,
area-
you see, that's one hatch,
Yeah.
like the whole thing. It's just a lot, it's actually a lot more work.
Yeah.
I should not have drawn, I want to select that. Interesting. I'm gonna do this really quick and easy, man. Quicker and easier. Oh, that's why. But we're almost done. The rest, honestly, like the rest of this is just making it pretty. You know, add any notes. You know, you go into your paper space, find your drawing. You know, you make this look nice. Ooh, hey. Put the color bar, that thing, any notes, things like that. I gotta fill all this in still for this job.
I think you can trim the pad.
Cool. You can also go like this. You can go, select similar. I'm trying to remember. Draw order. Send under objects. There we go. Right?
That's a cool tool.
Yeah. If I was gonna take the time and do it really good, I'd do that with like every single column. Sometimes if I'm in a hurry, I just leave the columns because like the project team knows that there's no slab where the column is, but it looks nice when you do all the columns because they're, you know, the white spot where there's nothing. Should really do the same thing with the elevator openings, like make a white hatch here.
I think you should do.
Want me to do it?
Yeah. I mean, basically you're representing America right now, dude.
Oh, shit. Well, we're not gonna take shortcuts. We don't do that.
And it looks awesome.
So this hatch is above everything, so I can't see what I'm trying to line it up to. This is helpful.
That's the L.
That's, yeah, that's one of the two elevators there. Is that the right spot? Nope.
Yes.
They're the same size. honestly, this one could overlap on that side, it'd be all right. Something like that. Unfortunately, if I do the hatch to back, it does that again, but that's okay. It can go. Come on. Because there's like a bunch of overlapping hatches, it's really a challenge to get the right one. The other thing I'll do is sometimes I'll take a PDF and overlay a PDF with this, and then that's one more thing you have to get in that right layer. It's always fun. This isn't bad because it's actually, a lot of the line work from the structural drawing is kind of showing you where things are. So it's not bad the way it is. This is a bit of funkiness here. We had one high point. Oh, you know what? Okay, so here, we'll take this as a good example. If you see something like this and you don't like it, like I don't think that's there, I think that's probably one of those plywoods. You can go into your surface, you can do a thing called the manager and go remove point. What sucks about this is like it has to redraw the whole thing, every step you take. Pick a legend, okay, I'm just gonna hit enter for none because we're not doing that. Pick a point or point number to remove. That's the point I want to remove. And it's going to go and redraw it all again. Okay, now it's asking me for another point number to remove, but it gives you a little preview. It's like, yeah, that looks a lot better. I don't know, you guys see any other ones we need to? One thing I'll do too is like, say you're questioning this. Sorry.
Maybe there somewhere. Potentially, maybe not.
Let's come back to this because this is
Because
interesting.
there's a quarter and you go.
So
all the way
see,
to
see
the
how
edge.
it colored that blue? That's not right.
Well, it's
Sometimes
only a
these are
half.
really obvious because they're huge areas. You'll see a huge area and it just doesn't look right. It skips a color or it goes, sometimes the program will err and it'll skip colors or it'll be, they won't be in the right order. One thing I like to do is I like to look at my shots, right? So I go, what's going on here? So you go half-inch low, quarter-inch low, half-inch high. There's a nice flow, so the slab is just sloping up like that. So the numbers look right, you just know that that color's not right. If you have, like I showed you that other one where you had a thing go down like that into one point, we know that's an anomaly because there's no supporting evidence around it. You know what I mean? Like, if you were questioning this area, you'd say, well, I don't think there's a deep spot there, but it's like, yeah, there really is. You can see the numbers decreasing as they go. Like, it's obvious that it's going down. It's all sloping down. It's not like 1 or 2 points were bad here and it created this downward slope. If we didn't have any of these points here, and this were just one point in the middle, I'd say, maybe that's a bad shot. But because this is all supporting evidence that the slab is flowing that way. That's what's nice about the scan. It's a ton of data.
We only focus on those too steep.
Yeah, if it's really steep and it's only 1 point, it's kind of like, I don't know, that doesn't seem right. Here's another blue spot. I'll show you what to do. So we're still in the command where it's asking us to pick a point number to remove. So I don't have any more. I think I just hit enter. It's going to redraw it again. I don't need that. Now this time I'm going to redraw the hatch because I actually, or the legend, because I do want it. So it actually redrew everything again. So I've got to go through that procedure where I get rid of all that again. Yeah, it's kind of like you start to realize like you need to do things in a very specific order in order to not redo work. So like getting the hatching right is like usually the last thing I do, and then hopefully I don't notice another spot I need to fix. Let's look at
That's the
one of these.
worst.
So we know this color's wrong because it's not a low spot, it's a 0. What I like to do is I'll go and I'll just look at the pattern, right? So that is layer zone 9. If I come up one, it goes to zone 10. That should be 11. Oh, it's not. So click that, and I'm just gonna change it. 11. This should probably be 12 here. If I know it's wrong, I'll just change it. And then you can check it too, that where it's 0, it's like this greenish yellow color. You go over here. Oh, of course, we don't have zeros here. Is another thing. Sometimes I'll take the time to go in here and be like, right, go and takes time to change all these to say, you know, 1/8 inch, what is that? That would be an 1/8 inch high. This is kind of an anomaly, this whole slab, because the whole thing was high. You know, higher than I would expect. Like this would be like, you'd want this to be your plan elevation. So the whole thing being almost 2 inches, the average was like 2 inches higher than what it showed on the plan. What was our number? Oh, I don't have it open.
I just have to jump to another meeting, but I'll.
Okay.
Be done, but I'll touch base afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't think that's how you understand
6x6 like concrete.
So I think.
What it
I
actually
think we need
the college
to
rooms
like
spot area.
explain because I did
6
try.
by 6.
Like the.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't-
yeah.
I didn't
I wanna
expect
see that.
this.
It was on,
Emergency. And
it was
I
on
told
one
him about
side of
all
the core.
software.
I don't think
So
it's
I
gonna
had
show
to
up on here,
do it.
because
Because we did it in.
I didn't
they just
mention
poured
to
it
him
level,
too,
right?
so-
They filled it in level, so you see the seam
I didn't
around
expect
it.
the call.
But the seam
Before you
isn't,
go,
it's not an
yeah.
elevation
This is
change, so it's
important.
not really gonna be
I
represented.
sent you guys a link for the license, all you have to do
That
is
makes
go
sense?
see it's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
easy.
You might see it in the
Email,
scan data,
right.
you might see,
Don't,
you
they're
know, where the
15-day
two
licenses,
concretes
which is
butt
a-
up against, they
for
kind of
3DR.
fold down.
You
You
have.
might see that
registered
outline,
T6.
maybe in the scan.
Don't use those
Or the
licenses.
pictures the
until
scanner
you're
took,
ready.
you might see it there.
You know what I mean? Because you only have
Oh, it's
15
starting
days.
to come with it.
It's
Yeah,
better to
so
finish.
like,
Yeah.
if you have like, say you have four is registered,
Yeah,
you're ready to import it.
activate it, yeah.
Then activate it. Don't like import it and then 3 days later, a week
Okay.
later, you know what I mean? Wait, like,
Yeah.
See, that's
hold off
weird.
till you're not ready to use it.
Yeah.
Because then you have a longer with it. And
This is
then,
really screwed up.
also
right
don't
here.
hesitate to call me.
Yeah, for sure.
What happened?
But,
And
I
the other-
I don't know,
if you can
sometimes
get
the program
to
does,
where you extract
It does it wrong.
the points like I did.
See, this looks better.
We will not. I mean, we'll obviously be billing you guys for the time,
Yeah.
but, and I don't
It's like
know,
it skipped 10.
we still have other projects to support,
Mhm.
so the timing may be off a little,
13.
but,
12.
he wanted me
It's
to
like
work
going
on
down and then-
basically
Yeah,
16
11.
Yeah.
20.
See, I think
So
that should have been
16
10.
today,
9.
and then I'll do, 17, 18.
And it is
20
9,
by the end of
so it's
next
like this
week.
one right here.
So what are we doing?
That's-
We're.
You guys are gonna work on like, say, 25,
Oh, the
27,
honor
28,
levels.
29.
Not that it makes
You
much
guys
difference
start
in
on,
appearance,
start on
but-
25, when you guys.
Could you hover it to the left a little bit? To the left.
So this is,
Like that.
So
so
we're
you'll be
gonna
doing
start
the
on
one
this
that's,
part?
that. he
Oh,
wants.
yeah.
What zone is
that
that?
Yeah,
one?
we're gonna, so we'll get next week,
That's 7.
We'll have 16
Yeah,
done
so
today.
7, 8,
I'll schedule at
9,
least one day
10,
for next
11,
week
12,
for us to work on it,
That
Yeah.
was-
and we'll work on getting,
Well,
and now you guys can see like why
Weird.
I needed to bring Josh, obviously,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he's the expert at this.
So you're saying?
He's
it
showed me
doesn't
this
have
5
where
times
it's
already.
Yeah.
And every time he
sloping
shows
down
me,
the wire.
oh,
Yeah.
This is like kind of like
So I
natural.
literally-
but
yeah,
it's
I'm the
like
expert
all of a
on
sudden
these
So
it
the
changes.
plan
changes.
is
Well,
right now is we'll do the other
It's
floors
not, you gotta look at what the
registration,
text
and then
says
first,
and not,
then
you
we'll
know,
use
you're
the,
looking at these, you want
the
these to look right, but you have to pay attention
Then
to
we'll
the text,
send
right?
that
So,
data to
Yeah.
Josh.
oh, it's
I mean,
inch high.
He would like you
That might be
to try
know,
to create
because
heat maps. and I
we
did
went in
send
2
you-
and 3
I sent
feet, we
you a
went from a
video
quarter
where you
load
should
to
be
half
able to
high.
do it with the software
This is a
you
bad
have.
point.
Okay.
That's a
But
good point.
you're still gonna obviously.
Well, it is a quarter.
But we'll help you.
The
But
fact
again,
that it's
this
so
is,
close to the edge and we know
my
that there's a
opinion is
window
this should
system and
probably
framing and
stay
stuff,
with
I think that's a
surveyors.
bad point.
Yeah.
you know, whatever, it's gonna be whatever it is, if you guys.
So
feel
you picked
like
up the,
you can do this every
What I can
project
do
or
is I
whatever.
can go 87, right?
There's a lot that goes
What
into this
number
on the
87?
survey side of things, like you really need to get your survey involved in doing the
I'm actually,
You have a
thinking
layout
of it.
guy, you have one, right?
I'm gonna delete the point from the coordinates
That's,
file.
he's always busy, so it's just not really helpful.
Well, he should have been there with us this week.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
I
And
should
the
have
other
talked
one,
to
the
him.
other one was right here.
Who is
Remember
it?
this point?
Preston. Preston.
I'm
He does all
gonna
the
reset
layout
to
for
256.
all the projects?
It just doesn't
I think
matter
he's
what point number it is.
So we need to, talk with him at some point. Do you know him?
It is a lot.
Yeah, I know.
It's too
You
much.
like give him models and shit like that?
No,
to
we
lay out?
haven't really like worked
Well, enjoy your other
I'll-
meeting.
yeah, I'll-
Well, we'll be in
Given,
I'll come
touch.
over,
given all
yeah.
the issues we were seeing, like this issue here and this issue, we realized this point I think was wrong due to the fact that it was right on the slab edge. It was
I
a
agree.
half inch high, so it went from
Maybe it was
quarter inch
the,
to a half inch high, so I erased the point.
Horizontal steel track maybe, kind of?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It caught some of the wall or something.
Like I went through and picked out most, but I missed one. Here's like 2,500 points
Yeah.
there, you know?
Yeah. So.
And you know, I spent 2 minutes on it.
I also wanted to check this. Those 2 points, and then also the fact that the ordering of the hatch zones did not look right there. I'm just gonna redo it. I erased those 2 points, so it won't even use those now.
Now you're trying to
Yeah,
redo
so
it?
I wanted to check this, so that's it, that's an 8. And we're telling it to erase everything. Set up the right selection, yes. Come on, perimeter, no inclusion.
Do you ever use the shrink wrap?
I have before, but I like having it go,
Okay.
or I like using this. I'm not very good at the shrink wrap, how's that? That's a good excuse.
All right. Honestly, I just don't know enough to tell you which one's right about this program, you know?
So these are, you gotta be careful here. If you took the time to number these and then you do this again, it's gonna kill them. So you can do that, just turn off the setting layer. But anyway, I'm not actually gonna do that. They are going 1/8 inch intervals. Huh. So, okay, so fix that problem. That's definitely better. So this is interesting, it's going from a low here to a high here. So we go 6, now that's 6. Wasn't that 7 before? I don't remember. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. These look right now. Sometimes it's better to just let it redo it. If you see too many problems, like tune up your coordinate file like, and then say, go over.
Delete the points that you think it's gonna be, like, yeah, and just recalibrate it.
Yeah. Another thing I like, this is just, there's a ton of little details of things I like to do. Like, I think the contours look better if, instead of being black, my go-to is 253. I think it just looks better because it like takes the focus off the actual line and it's more about the colors. The fact that like all the upper ones were all red, it's not a horrible thing because you can still see these contour lines and it leads your eye into this area. And then if they're concerned about high spots in the slab, they can kind of, on the PDF, they can zoom in and start looking at the individual elevations a lot of time. Or we can run that program again and move the color bar up. So we've got like, the blue will be like 2 or 3. I guess we'd be moving the colors down.
Yeah.
The blue would be like 2 or 3 of the elevations and the red would be 2 or 3. It would make this area like more all blue. You know, you can also do a thing like you could do a white hatch right through here and just say, you know, that doesn't count. You could eliminate, it gets a little tricky. I mean, the problem is like you could spend days on one drawing. Obviously we can't do that. So you have to like cut it off somewhere and be like, it's good enough.
Yeah.
And then the project manager calls you and he's like, I'm pretty sure that's not sloping through there. And you're like, yeah, I know, you know, like, sorry. You can create things called break lines, right? So we could actually, let me see if I can do it quickly. I know we're about out of time, but
Spencer doesn't think to do this.
You scared?
Like I have to like rewatch the video, try to understand, backtrack, but that's gonna take me like.
Have you ever used AutoCAD?
I did, but it's just for architecture purposes. I never knew AutoCAD could do a generated heat map like this. Like,
Well, this is the
Oh,
Carlson
it's a-
software doing this.
Yeah, it's a.
You have to have the plug-in, yeah. Or try and figure it out with Civil 3D. See, it took me a long time to get to this point using
Yeah.
Carlson. And then they're like, well, we have Civil 3D for free. I'm like, that's nice. I don't want to start over again. I should.
yeah.
I should figure it out.
You know what's recording is.
Yeah, I just kind of.
I sent you
if
the
I
link
say
for that as
something
well.
Yes,
inappropriate.
Maybe worth having a watch.
Yeah, it is.
I'm gonna try to schedule a couple days next week where we work on this.
I'm gonna see what happens here if I add a break line. Pick point or point number for first, so I don't know. It's here, here. Oh, it's got to redo it every time. That didn't do what I wanted at all. Well, there's ways to tell it not to, so it's drawing these tin lines going down this slope. There's ways to tell it that you don't want, oops, that's not a tin line. There's ways to tell it that these tin lines are not to connect across here. And they're called break lines. And I've only used them a few times, but when you do this here and you go into your selection, you could say they can be 3D polylines, solid lines, 2D polylines, and then when you go and do this whole thing, so it's asking for inclusion, no exclusion. Now it's saying points and break lines. So I could say, you know, like, okay, well, that's going to be a break line, so I'm going to add that into the mix. So coordinate file, all the files. Okay, so the line, the 3D polyline I picked has a 0 elevation, and that'll create a whole lot of contours. If I said yes, it would lock the computer up because it's going to create 96 contours per foot at 246 feet. So it's going to create thousands of polyline contours and it'll just lock out. I think I've done it before. No, I don't want to continue with that. We're not going to do that. Yeah, you got to be really careful. If you select objects or have points in your coordinate file that are at 0 or 1,000, you know, and you tell it to process it, it's going to try and create thousands of contour lines stacked up on top of each other, and it essentially locks the computer up because it's freaking out. Anyhow, I can finish 16 because we're 3/4 of the way there. Or you guys can use it to try and train with.
So if we can get the plugin today, sure. I will try.
Oh, one more time. Hopefully the last time. It's for me. It's totally normal to go through this whole thing 15 times for one heat map. But God, thank God they they made the program so it holds all your, your existing values, like nothing
Yeah.
changed except.
It's great to
Yes.
remember all the settings,
Yes.
or, yeah.
Otherwise, it just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna make the hatch size of 2. Oh, that's cool. Hatch to duck. Layer freeze. What I'd really like to do is just create a deliverable and hand them something like today. This is
Yeah.
in addition to training, like we use this level to train, but here's the deliverable.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there'll be something wrong with it. They need something to look different, but that's okay. A lot of
You
time.
are perfectionist, right?
What's that?
You are a perfectionist, like you want everything to be perfect.
I do, but like there's always time constraints. you
Yeah,
know?
I know.
Man, a lot of times I'll just get something out the door. I'm not happy with it. It's not perfect, but at the same time, like I just need to like get it done. So, I'm actually gonna save this file. Now, here's another thing I'll tell you is I will very often have one CAD file with multiple heat maps. Like they'll just like this is all. I'm going to show you guys this. This stuff is all Carlson works in 3D, right?
Oh,
So
I
you have
see.
a lot of base layers
Yeah,
down
yeah.
here, and it's all pretty flat 'cause it's a slab, but like it's all modeled in 3D, right? So
Yeah.
the contour lines are where they go elevation wise. I think the hatching. Oh, geez.
The hatch is at the bottom.
I think the hatching is down at the bottom.
Maybe we can cut it.
Yeah, the
A little
hatching's
bit.
down at
Yeah.
the bottom. But as long as you maintain your layer control, where you're saying layer 16,
Yeah, yeah.
zone 1 through 20, level 17, zone 1 through 20, you can have it all. It'll all just stack up there. But what you got to be really careful of is when you go to do this command. If you go to do level 17 and you're using the same CAD file, you don't want to erase all contours.
Oh.
It'll erase 16, right?
Yeah.
So you have to turn that off. And the trick there is, if you turn this off, before you go and run this program again, you just got to manually erase all that crap.
Yeah. Or should I just open a
I
separate?
like to do a fresh file. So I'll set up a
Yeah.
base file with no heat map stuff, and it's like it's got everything kind of set up.
Yeah,
then
or just
copy that.
Yeah, just copy that.
Have
and
one
start
for each
over.
heat
Yeah.
map. That's the best. That's the best way to do it.
Okay.
That you really, especially with a building like this where you're going to have 13 floors of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just have a
They're
separate
pretty
file.
identical, actually.
Cancel out of that. Go back to top. Well, I was showing her that Carlson.
Yeah, the different.
Yeah, Carlson.
elevation.
Yeah, Carlson draws us all this stuff in 3D, except for the hatch zones. So. Yeah, that's real. So all these points it drew, and the contour lines are in. They're in 3D, right? So the hatching and the line work that came from the structural guy is all down at 0. It's a 2D drawing. But all the contour lines,
The points align with the coordinates.
you can't really see it because they're all, it's a pretty flat slab.
Yeah.
But it's,
Yeah, the actual height of each point.
cool. Where we're gonna see it is right here on these ones. Yeah, there you go. You can barely see it there. Little slope.
Yeah, I feel like you cannot tell.
It's really, no, you
Like,
can't really
yeah,
tell, but it's
because
only,
it's
it's
so
less, it's an
small.
inch.
Yeah.
It's an inch over 2 feet, so it's just like barely a slope. What's cool is I'll make maps like this of like spoil piles, things that have actual shape to them.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you can totally like see it in the drawing. It's a lot of fun. See, why did it do that? All I did is change my view and I messed that up. Interesting. What are we doing here? let's see, let's try a regen and a redraw. Okay, how about we just back up a bunch of steps? I don't know why it's displaying differently, that was weird. I really like AutoCAD because of its versatility. Like, you can draw anything.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is it a mess? Like, it's so, like, some of the stuff you try to do is, like, it's, what you're trying to do is simple, but it's like, they made it really complex.
Have you tried do you know AutoCAD can also draw 3D?
Oh yeah, I do a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
feel
stuff
like-
in 3D and
yeah.
AutoCAD, but,
Yeah, but I feel
it's a challenge. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
so much work.
I feel its expertise still at the 2D drawings. So,
Yeah. Where is, here, I'll show you. Show you one of my ones. So Six and Taylor, we're doing all the utility work, what do you call it?
Pre-construction?
Yeah, pre-construction utility work, but they want as-built on everything. And then
I would say UMP,
UMP work, yeah,
UMP scope.
yeah. What does that stand for?
underground mechanical piping.
Plumbing, something like that.
Is 16 done?
6 and 2?
16. Level 16.
It's getting close. I was working on it. I got distracted.
Very good.
Yeah, we're close. I need to label the scale bar, probably add notes, and then fill in all this.
Can we add the
information here.
can we add the grid lines on there?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So this is kind of just an AutoCAD thing. It's not a Carlson thing, but I like to have everything kind of organized like this. So I got my grids there. I didn't add all these, so like all this stuff that says level 16. Oh, I hate Windows 11. Windows 10, I could just do that. I could click these and drag them over here, but when I do it here, it does that.
Oh man.
Yeah. And I went online and everybody's pissed off about it and nobody has a fix yet. The only fix is to go like this. Select layer, tab. And then I have to like do like that. Very frustrating. And it added a whole bunch of stuff I don't want. Anyway, that's a little neither here nor there. Yeah, grids. Even leave the grid offsets in there, I guess.
Did you guys get a chat? Did you guys not? We didn't get a file.
Current.
Why can't I see it?
What are you looking for?
I sent a file in a Teams chat, but I don't see it on the chat. You guys get it?
Oh, I'm not even logged into Teams here.
It's fine.